We have the agenda review session. We have an ordinance on second reading. Number one, an ordinance of the State of New Brunswick and the County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, approving the application for a long-term tax exemption and authorizing the City of New Brunswick to enter into a financial agreement with Sterling Side Urban Renewal LLC and granting a tax exemption in regards to 50 Nielsen Street and 45 Hazard Street, Block 121, Lots 101 and 102. We then have public comment and our next meeting September 18th. Okay. Order. Roll call.
Councilmember Egan.
Here.
Councilmember Escobar is absent. Councilmember Fleming is absent. Council Vice President Socorro Ludwig. Here. Council President Anderson.
Here. Please be advised that the notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act have been complied with and satisfied, and that the annual notice, which gave sufficient notice of the time and place and conduct of all public meetings in municipal council of the City of New Brunswick, has been filed with the City Clerk, has been placed on an appropriate bulletin board in the lobby of City Hall, New Brunswick, New Jersey, and has been transmitted to the official newspaper for the City of New Brunswick, namely the Home News. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence, please. Remember those men and women in our armed forces who have been deceased, who fought, came back disabled. We also like to remember all those who died and are disabled for September 11th. Thank you. All right, we have no public hearing.
I'm guessing the next one we need to make a motion.
Well, I got to read it first.
Yeah,
We have an ordinance on second reading. Number one, an ordinance of the City of New Brunswick and the County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, approving the application for a long-term tax exemption and authorizing the City of New Brunswick to enter into a financial agreement with Sterling Side Urban Renewal LLC and granting a tax exemption in regard to 50 Nielsen Street and 45 Hazard Street, Block 121, Lots 101 and 102. Any member from the public wish to comment on that ordinance, please give your name and address for the record. Give up to 5 minutes, one time off, please.
Good evening, members of the council.
Good morning.
Good morning. Charles Cradle, New Brunswick Today. I want to thank you for putting together the special meeting and do have some concerns about the ordinance. I hope you'll take them seriously. First and foremost, there was an error in the original ordinance. Has anyone on the council reviewed the updated ordinance to make sure there's no errors in it?
I asked the attorney to do that for me.
Okay, and can we hear from the attorney about the status?
I'm satisfied that the ordinance is in proper form now.
Okay. And did anyone on the council review Exhibit A to the ordinance, which is a somewhat lengthy financial agreement?
I did.
Yes. Okay. And I can't say that I found any substantive errors in it, but I do see a reference to the long-term tax exception law. I'd always understood this law is called the long-term tax exemption law. Can I just get clarity on what the correct name is in the state statute we're working with?
It's exemption.
Exemption, thank you.
But as the ordinance recites, as well as the procedure with respect to how we do this, it's subject to review of the city attorney, subject to further negotiation. So Exhibit A is not the final document, Mr. Cradle.
Thank you, I do understand that, but thank you for clarifying. A couple of questions about the project itself. So it says 53 rental units. I'm familiar with the plans, having been to the Housing Authority and Zoning Board meetings about this. Can you tell me how many bedrooms, how many potential residents the building would have? Or maybe the developer could enlighten us, since they've been kind enough to send a representative.
But I was to make it to you know.
The redeveloper has, yeah.
For the record, please.
Hi, my name is Karuna Mehta, and yeah, thank you. That's much better. My name is Karuna Mehta, and I am a project manager with the Community Builders. Off the top of my head, I believe it's 111 bedrooms for 53 units. Some of those bedrooms may have one person sleeping in them, some of them may have two, so I can't say the total number of folks that would be living in the building.
Thank you. One more question for you. Has the developer or maybe the city done any research to estimate the number of school-age children that are expected to be living in the building?
Yes, you prepared me well for this question, so thank you. So every year Rutgers releases a study that looks at the population, the residential population of New Jersey. And from that study, there are percentages that you can pull out and use as multipliers for your own building. So that study, one of the exhibits focuses on low-income housing, which is what this is. And based off of those multipliers, we predict between 29 and 31 children for the building.
Thank you very much. That's, I think, all I have for you for now. Okay, so just to confirm, if the city council adopts this, there will be 0 taxes paid on the building. 0 property taxes in the traditional sense paid for the building.
I don't know, overall, we're paying a certain amount of money, which is a lot more than it was just sitting there now.
Right. But in terms of taxes, which are distributed to our schools, there will be 0 taxes paid on the building. Is that correct?
Please correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So 29 to 31 children will be in the school system. Those, school age, they're eligible to get education in New Brunswick public schools. 0 tax dollars paid by the developer. This is the root cause of my concern, as you know, about these types of arrangements. But I do know that this is a state statute and it allows up to a 30-year term. Can you ask the developer if this is required that they get the 30-year exemption in order to get the points on their tax credit application, or if this was a 20-year or less, would that meet the requirement?
Hello, John Sukmi, Lee Planting Law here on behalf of the applicant. 30 years is the preferred for getting the full point for the credit, but also our deed restriction also has to be a minimum of 30 years for affordable units. So it's important for us to have them tied together with deed restriction.
Understood. And so I want to understand how much the city anticipates will be paid in the form of a payment in lieu of taxes.
Per the agreement, we have I believe, a 1-year lease-up period, which should be in section 4. That has, let's just pull it up, because you have it there. So the 1-year lease-up period would allow them to only pay $40,000 for the first year while they get to full occupancy in the building. It's pretty standard to give 1 or 2 years in most projects of lease-up. We gave 1 here. The estimate based on the 10% of revenue of the building would be approximately $70,000 a year in net present value. Obviously, that would change depending on if rents go up, et cetera, and the revenue that the building generates. They could also potentially go down. There's a minimum service charge of $60,000 if it goes down, and then a secondary minimum of $40,000 in the event that the housing NJHMFA regulates, I guess. If they regulate down the area median income, which may trigger the rents to be lowered. There aren't any vouchers at this property, from my understanding, so it's sort of, the rents are pegged in such a way by the state that they would be affordable. So if area median income were to theoretically go down, it could push the numbers below where the building could sustain itself without that secondary bottom. But that one only triggers in the event that area median incomes decrease such that it would go below the 60, not through negligence or anything else.
Thank you. Does anybody here know the average property tax bill that a homeowner pays in a given year? It's got to be upwards of $10,000, right? Maybe.
I don't think it's that much.
Does this sound fair that the developer might be paying just $60,000 on a 5-story, 53-unit apartment building with 111 bedrooms? Is that, do you think that's fair when taxpayers are being
$1,000 now, it's certainly going to help apartment.
Well, there's no building there.
Yeah, but nobody has been building on it, so that would be good, that's what we do.
And I agree that the development here is going to be a good thing, but do they deserve such a steep discount on their property taxes is the question. Considering, I don't know how much you pay on your home, but this is only a few times more than a single-family home.
I think it's fine.
53, okay, you think it's fine, thank you. I have just a few more questions if you'll...
Well, wherever.
Okay.
More than 5 minutes are up.
I understand. Is there anybody else that needs to speak, or can you allow me to ask these
No,
questions
I
about
don't
a
say.
30-year agreement that you scheduled a special meeting to rush through?
Thank you. Those questions you could have asked those people before the meeting, stuff like that. Save some of your time. So your time.
I've interacted with them.
Ask those questions you could have asked before. The time is up. Crap.
Sir, I have some additional questions here. I don't know if you're in a
You
hurry.
can wait for the public comment if you're interested.
I have questions about the ordinance you're about to adopt that's going to...
We went over that. We allowed you a little bit more time.
Yeah.
You could have asked more questions. They didn't have to come up to the microphone. You could have asked them those questions beforehand.
Well, let's talk about why we're having this meeting. Let's talk about why we're having this meeting. The city council 15 years ago stopped having agenda meetings. You used to have twice as many meetings. You stopped having the agenda meetings, and because you stopped having the agenda meetings, this issue didn't come to your attention until the final public hearing on this matter. And because you had screwed up the ordinance, now you had to hold a special meeting, and you want the meeting to last 10 minutes or less. You don't even want to hear a few more questions about a 30-year agreement that's going to cost us taxpayers money. This is absurd. Can I ask my 3 more questions I have?
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public?
Unbelievable.
No.
Seeing none?
Oh, yeah.
I think you have somebody else who does want to speak.
No, I was just going to clarify that we will pay a percentage of revenue, so if it's above the minimum, we're only talking bare bones.
We understand.
If we do better, you're going to do better.
We understand, thank you. Okay? Anybody else? Seeing none?
Move the ordinance?
Second.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Council Vice President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Anderson.
Yes, thank you. We have a public comment. We have up to 5 minutes. One time up, please. Name and address to the record.
Morning once again. I want to express my disappointment in my elected officials here.
I'm disappointed in your rambunctiousness and your questions that you could have asked those people that you didn't have to bring them up to the microphone for, but you wanted obviously to do that, so we go on. You have 5 minutes.
Were any of my questions disrespectful or out of order?
5 minutes is our limit. That's what we're going to go by.
Right, a limit that you changed. You stuck.
That's not true. There's an ordinance in it. I don't have anything to do with it.
You've been on the council since 2014. Tell me, sir, did you used to pause the clock when public officials were answering questions or not?
There are different things that have been the last 120 years of this, or whatever, how long it's been going on.
Right, and you changed it and made it worse.
Well,
You changed
think
it.
it's worse?
Yes, because you're stifling public comment so you can get home quicker. What do you have to do that's so important at 9:15 in the morning?
5 minutes. If this is what you want to use your 5 minutes.
It's exactly what I want to use it for. What do you got to do that's so important that I couldn't ask a few more questions about a 30-year tax exemption as the only member of the public that's not asking for the tax exemption that's here? What do you have to do?
No comment.
No comment, okay. I want to explain to the council that you gave yourselves a raise. You know this, you voted for it. You're having half as many meetings as the council used to have a couple decades ago. You allow the public less time to speak than just a year ago. What are you doing to benefit democracy? You call yourselves Democrats, but you're chipping away at our democracy. What do you have to say about those changes to the public input that you've stifled?
That hasn't happened. Since I've been president, I haven't seen anybody use that 5 minutes, or more, except for you.
Okay. Have you seen anybody else investigate the crane collapse, for instance?
See, people have questions.
Who investigated the crane collapse?
We've gone into that before.
Right, no one. Construction department didn't, fire department didn't, police department didn't, DOL didn't, OSHA didn't, who did? New Brunswick today. That's why I need 5 minutes. That's why I need my 5 minutes.
I thought OSHA came in and decided they didn't need to pursue
And
the
they decided
investigation.
because people weren't there that they didn't need to investigate, so we had director.
Right, yet if they had looked at the city's crane permits, they would have seen that they weren't signed by the person who should have signed off on them. Can you please ask Mr. Valenti?
So logically though, Charlie.
Yes.
Logically, just because a permit isn't signed, say it's signed or it isn't signed, what does that have to do with the physical happening with the crane collapse? The permit
The city-
being signed or not?
The city
has
council
nothing
passes
to do with
ordinance.
what happened with the weather.
The city council passed that ordinance because they were concerned about the danger that cranes pose and the liability that cranes
understand that.
pose. They set forth standards that folks are supposed to follow. And if those standards aren't being followed, and the only time we check up on it is after a crane collapses, that's not good public policy. The city council should want people to be making sure people are complying with the ordinances that they pass.
Absolutely.
And so, in that case, could you please ask Mr. Valenti, has the city engineer, Ms. Marcelli, ever authorized him to sign off on crane permits?
This question should have been asked and answered last.
Oh, he left. I guess he left.
Well, I don't see him here.
Yeah.
But to my point, Mr. Council President, members of council, we've explored this. I've given the council my opinion. Mr. Cradible could talk about this all he wants. He wants to create a story, report about it, that's fine.
A crane crushed a house. I'm not creating a story here.
Creating issues that are not issues, sir. That's my opinion.
In all your time in New Brunswick, you ever seen that happen?
I can't recall.
You've been here your whole life. Yeah. So this is
It's happened.
okay. And it's important to find out why to prevent
They were
that.
supposed to be.
What's that?
They took care of the 4 weather reports they were supposed to be.
Who took care of the 4 weather reports?
I don't remember that, but I remember talking.
Okay, so I don't have the answers I need
Oh,
because you're saying things like they looked into it. We don't know who they is.
Well, I
This
don't
is not-
specifically know, all I know is they had to check 4 weather reports. They did. I'm done with that. Unfortunately, with the rain coming through, things happen. Unfortunately, it's a bad accident. Fortunately, nobody actually was hurt.
Thank goodness. And I'm trying to get to the bottom of it so it doesn't happen again. And I think it's crazy that Tom Valenti would sign off on a crane permit where it says city engineer, and he's not the city engineer.
I think that was the answer to the last council.
Yeah, it was, excuses were made for it. But what does the ordinance say? Does it say that the application must be made and signed off on by the city engineer? Or does it say the head of DPW can sign off on it without telling the city engineer?
Department head that the particular application is submitted to. I've explained that last time. It's of no significance. Well, time's up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I think you guys need to do better. This was disgraceful.
We'll agree to disagree. Anybody else from the public? Seeing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Council Vice President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Anderson.
Yes.